Motormouth Jenkins here, welcoming you to our brand new YouTube channel. Hope that you'll come back and see every segment each and every week, and I will share preventative maintenance tips and regularly scheduled maintenance tips for your car. So whether you know a little bit about your car or absolutely nothing, this is the channel just for you, where I share over 35 years of experience as a qualified and licensed service technician with truck and coach, light truck and passenger vehicles. Come back and visit us and tell your friends, and we'll see you each and every week right here in the Car Connection Workshop on YouTube. Niall Motormouth Jenkins here in the Car Connection Workshop. Hey, thanks friends for stopping by. We got another great segment for you. We're jumping back on to our 1997 Jeep TJ Wrangler. First year of the Wrangler, my understanding from the Jeepers and Jeepettes. I'm getting educated by those folks. It's a religion to them, you know. Jeeping, Jeepsters, the whole package. But I'm not involved in that. I rescued this 97 Jeep TJ Wrangler from the Crusher. So the frame's all good. I laid in the mud and I checked it out, the short story, and here we are. We're putting it together. We've got its motor here today. It's time now to prepare the motor. So once again, thanks for stopping by and visiting us in the Car Connection Workshop. I'm your host, Niall Motormouth Jenkins, always messing things up. But eventually we fix it too, so that's not too bad. You can mess it up and fix it. But if this is your first visit, we're going to mess you up pretty good. So you're going to need some kind of treatment. Let me think on that. What would it be? Donut therapy works every time. You ever notice you could be having a rough day? You know, rougher than a stucco bathtub. And you get a donut, a hot cup of coffee, and it just looks a whole lot better. Except for this. Yeah, we got some work to do here. Well, here's how this, I'll give you the short story. No, this is my lightsaber. Wah, 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 wah. There, I got you. All right, enough of that. That's tomfoolery right there. Yeah. If you hang around, you might even see Skippy. I haven't seen him for days. I don't even know how much we pay him, but he comes in and does stuff. In fact, in one of the videos, we still say that Skippy was messing with us. There was this thing. It kind of came out of nowhere in the video, and we're reviewing it and going, what the heck is that? What is that? We don't know. But Skippy was nowhere to be found or seen. We called out for him, but he was hiding. We think he was trying to probe us with something. Yeah, he's like that. Some people say he kind of monkeys around a little bit. I'm thinking, you wait and see. When you meet Skippy, you tell me what you think, if he monkeys around a little bit. All right, so here's what we got. Excuse me. It took us a while to find an original motor, the motor that was in here. I'll show you some other pieces. Our next visit to the show and tell table, I'm going to put some parts from the original motor and explain why it died. Lack of maintenance. That's what took it out. Anyways, we found a motor. I just wanted to put the same engine it was born with, the 2.5 liter PowerTech monster horsepower 4-cylinder, back in, and we managed to, through the Jeepsters and Jeepettes, we found one with low mileage, and the fellow was good to us. So now I'm just going through the motor, and when you get a used motor, I've put a lot of pre-owned motors in my years in the shop, and as long as you get a really good solid donor, you're okay. This engine has about 124,000 kilometers on it. That's 1.8 million miles. No, not really. You do the math. And I didn't pass math to think about it. Yeah, it cost me $60. But I did pass the second time. Anyways, we need to freshen it up, and that's what I do before I put it in. I'm going to do everything that I should do and think that we might want to do before we drop it in over there. Yeah, so it's going to go in over there. Transmission is ready. We've got a clutch ready to go on it, but we got to do our homework on this motor first. So I pulled the cylinder head off. I wanted to see the cylinders first, and we'll go through that another time. But right now, my main focus is we want to make sure that the timing on the engine is top drawer. So I'm going to unveil this. This is the timing gears on this particular motor, and this is the way I work. When I'm working on something and I want to keep the dust and stuff out, shop towels, rags work the best. So to close it off, and I bag, when I'm working on a motor, I bag it over, I put cloths over it, and I bag it and tie it off. You don't want any dust. This engine is wide open and naked. Are you naked? Yes, totally naked. So here's what we have to start with is the timing gears. That's what we're working on here. I have a brand new set. I'll show you that in a minute. But what we want to do first of all is we got to get this motor set on what they call top dead center. What does that mean? Well, what that means is we need to find number one cylinder, and we need to get it to the top of the cylinder hole. Okay, so the piston hole. Here's number one. So we're a 4-cylinder. 1, 2, 3, cylinder 4. So there's a couple things we need to know before we get to top dead center. I need to know which cylinders fire together. So on every engine cylinder, the firing order has been divided that specific cylinders fire together. So on this particular engine, somebody might say, "Oh, I know that firing order. It's 1, 4, 3, 2." And I go, "Well, how do you know?" Well, I'm going to show you how we're going to know. So I'm going to put my light up here. I'm going to bend that over. Oh, I broke my lightsaber. Not really. Okay, we're going to get some toolage going here. Get some toolage right here. Then I'm going to get my bag of stuff. And this is how I work. When I take stuff apart, I bag it, and I use my Sharpie, and I mark it right on the Ziploc bag, and there's no turkey in this one this time. This says timing cover, pan bolts, front lower, 4. The balancer bolt, which is going to go here in the center, and I have chain dampener. It's right here. That was in the original timing chain cover. And I have bologna sandwiches. No, this is all for the front of the engine. Everything in this area. So 4 bolts, 1, 2, 3, 4 are going to go into the timing cover. That's why it's in this bag. So pan bolts, those are pan bolts, and the timing cover sits in here, and there's all kinds of hardware here to hold that timing cover in place. So it holds from the bottom and completely around. So it's all in here. So what I need to fish out of here right now is I need the crankshaft bolt, because that's what I'm going to need in order to crank this engine over. We're going to find top dead center. How are we going to do that? I knew you'd ask. That's why I have all my stuff sitting right here. Okay, so somebody tells me, well, my neighbor says, "Oh, I know, motor mouth, the firing order is 1, 4, 3, 2. Really? I don't think it is. Yeah. So I go, well, how am I going to know that? Well, I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you a little trick. Are you ready for a trick, or are you ready for a treat? All right, let me get my piece of cardboard. Let me get my handy dandy marker, if nobody's stolen it on me, because they do that. They take my stuff. Yeah, All right, here's what we need to know. Okay, if we say this engine is cylinders 1, 4, 3, 2, that's the firing order. I don't think it is. Here's what I think. Because here's how you figure out the mating cylinders. That means the cylinders that dance together. When they go down together. When they come up together every time. So here's how you figure that out. This is a true firing order, 1, 4, 3, 2. But to figure out the mating cylinders, you do this. You split the firing order, so there's 4 digits. 1, 4, 3, 2. Those are the pairs. If this is the firing order on this motor, I don't believe it is. So 1 and 3, 4 and 2 fire together. I don't think so. I'm going to say something different. I'm going to say I believe the firing order on this 2.5 liter PowerTech engine is 1, 3, 4, 2. Let's see. So 1 and 4 and 2. I believe this is correct. That it's 1, 4. 3 and 2 are the pairs. So that's how you figure out your pairs. This is a 4-cylinder firing order. This is a 4-cylinder firing order. Let's see what we got. So what's really cool is you're getting to see this engine before it gets all put together and how we determine where number 1 cylinder is. Okay, let's start in the easiest spot first. Speaking of spots, I come to my timing gears. And again, if you do this differently, you do it your way. It's okay with me. I'm going to take this oil splash shield off just temporarily. I'm going to hang it right there. Don't put it anywhere else because you'll forget to put it on. Put it where you're working, where you can see it. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I need to find some polka dots. So there's going to be a polka dot on this gear, which is the crankshaft, and a polka dot on this gear, which is the camshaft. And that controls the valves, this controls the pistons. So we have a dot right here. So I take a little welder's pen and I put it on there. Then we're going to come back to that after and I'm going to make another mark. So then I go, okay, there's got to be a dotulator down here somewhere. Is it on the gear? On this side? I believe that it's that dot right there. So let's go with another dot right there. I believe that is the polka dot we're looking for. So now I'm going to turn the engine over. Now let's take just one quick look up here, because I've done my homework here too, is I have marked cylinder number 4, where it gets its spark from, its energy. That's spark plug number 4, which will go to that cylinder. And I've marked spark plug number 1, which is going to spark to this cylinder right here. I'll just turn that. I don't have the cylinder head on, and I really don't want to put it on right now because the cylinder head's been to the machine shop. It's been prepped and cleaned and ready, and this has not been cleaned yet. So it's a perfect time for you to see. You're seeing a naked engine with the pistons. So this is cylinder number 1. I verified that. And cylinder number 4, I verified that. And this is the coil wire, which goes right here onto the ignition coil. And that sends the spark and then the distributor cap. sends it everywhere else. So what we want to know is, okay, this is cylinder number 1. I'm just going to undo the distributor cap, the distribulator, which distributes the spark. So I just put this on hand tight because I really wanted you to get a good idea how this is done. And if I can do it, you can do it. So I've got that just sitting on there for a reason. What? See what I mean? Skippy, he messes with us. He tightened the other screw. So I can lift this off. And the reason being is we've got to find our top dead center. So when this piston is at its very furthest distance in the bore, so when it's right to the top and it's just getting ready to go back down, that's called top dead center. That's 0 degrees. So let's do that. And if I'm right in my firing order, cylinder 1 and 4 will be at the very top of the bore together. They're dance partners. Then when I come over to the distributor cap, I should see the tip of this ignition rotor right here pointing over here at number 1 cylinder. So let's see what we can do here. And all this needs to be done before I go to the next level, which is cleaning the block and getting ready to put the cylinder head on. We need to make sure that the timing is right. And this engine's supposed to have 124,000 kilometers on it, but this is the little guy that I'm concerned with. This is telling me a different story. So we're going to go there in a minute, but just not yet. So let's put our bolt in here so we can crank this over. And we're going to line up the dots. But what we can actually see, which is really cool for you, not uncommon for me, is this is flying around at thousands of RPM. So when you're driving your car or your friend's car like you stole it, this is going crazy in here and in here, and these pistons are bobbing up and down like, you know, one of my favorite games, Whack-A-Mole, like the moles. You know how they pop up and you get to beat them? I got to get me one of those. I think that'd be great therapy for me. Whack-A-Mole. Okay, so watch this. Watch our dots. Okay, there's the crankshaft, camshaft. We got to get them to meet one another. So we're going to crank this baby over. There we go. We're going. Okay, let's just nice and gentle like. I think we're just about there. Just about there. Okay, what I do is I just take a screwdriver and I just kind of hold that there on that dot and see where I am. I think we got to go just a little bit more. I think that's pretty darn close. So if I were to put a screwdriver in there, cover that dot up here, and point to that dot, I'm going to say that dot is in the valley. This dot is on the crest. So the timing marks line up that way. This gear to that valley. So here's what I do next. Just so that I can see that without question, I take my welding marker, and what I do is I just create a white circle around that valley, and I paint this tooth white. See what I'm doing? So now it's a little easier to say, I need that point in that valley to line this dot with that dot. So you can physically see it a lot better. It works good for me every single time because you can get into cars where you've got double chains, more sophisticated gears, and it's hard to see. Okay, so we'll take that out of there before we knock that flying. So if that's correct, and that's 0 degrees, that means the two pistons that dance together should be at the top of their hole in the whack-a-mole game. Let's have a look. Cylinder 1, cylinder 4, cylinder 2, cylinder 3 their moles have been whacked and they're down there. So, where's my firing order? I said I felt my neighbor was not right. Let me see if I can get that stand. He said, oh, it's 1432, motor mouth. But if that's true, then cylinder 1 and 3 should be dancing together. I'm going to say that mole is definitely down in the hole. I said it's 1342. Cylinders 1 and 4 dance together. Cylinders 3 and 2 dance together. They're going down together, exactly the same. 1 and 4 are exactly the same. Now let's check the Sparkarola. If this is true, that the engine is now at 0 degrees, top dead center, and we can then take the timing gears off and change them out, where do you think that rotor tip should be pointing? It should be pointing at number 1 sparkulator. So it should be over here. So you know what I do? Again, get your white marker and just put a mark on there and just put a mark right there, just so you can see it. It's pretty gooey. This engine's got to be cleaned yet. We weren't able to get to that before we had to get everything in for the winter. Well, isn't that a conundrum? What happened? Well, I'll tell you what happened. Put this back on here. We're not at top dead center. We're on the wrong stroke. So what do we have to do? Well, we got to go around and line those dots up one more time. So we got to go around and come back to one another. That should bring us back to top dead center. And if it's not correct in here, then that means somebody's messed with the distributor. And it could be. It's a used motor. I don't have any history on it other than where the fellow took it from. And it's pointing to number 4. And then I'm going to tell you why it's correct. Because this engine fires off on number 4 cylinder, not number 1. Got to know your stuff, do your homework. It fires off on number 4, not on number 1. But these two cylinders fire together. That's what you have to know. So it fires off number 4, then number 1. So the firing order is 1, 3, 4, 2. So it goes, well, it says 1, but we'll do our homework on that. It's either that or somebody moved the distributor, which could happen. But 1 and 4 fire together. 3 and 2 fire together. So we got some homework to do there to verify it's firing off. This is saying I'm firing off number 4 first. Is that true? You got to verify it. I just told you that could be, yeah, it fires number 4. Does it? Does it really? There's some homework to do there. Don't just, this is a case where you don't listen to a neighbor and you don't assume, because the timing marks line up. 1 and 4 are at the top. And if you rotate it 180 degrees, so let's just do this for a minute. Let's just do something interesting, shall we? Let's turn the rotor to number 1 position and see where our timing marks are. So that's something we can do. Watch. Let's see what happens. And there's top dead center right there. But where's the timing marks? We're out 180 degrees from one another. I don't see any other marks here. So we have a little bit of homework to do. And it's not a case of, well, that should be correct. You have to know. So we got some homework to find out. Why is number 1 here, number 1 and number 4 are at the top dead center, but our timing marks are 180 degrees away from each other? What happened? Well, there's a possibility that the timing chain skipped. And I'm going to show you why I'm going to say that is because this tensioner, if this tensioner was in good shape and the chain was in good shape, this tensioner, see this spring, it's weak, it's stretched right out. That's because this plunger should be all the way back there. So if the chain was in really good shape and timing was good, this chain could have jumped 180 degrees because it's pretty sloppy loose. So before this tensioner picked up the stretch out of the chain, and it's 124,000 K, but that is sloppy loose. Even with the tensioner is all the way at its lowest point. It cannot pick up any more slack because there's no spring tension here. So this is pretty sloppy loose. And if that was back, say, halfway with some tension on it, it's still quite sloppy loose. So did the cam gear that turns the distributor rotor to point at number 1 and fire the cylinders, if that firing order that I marked there on that cardboard, 1342, is correct, this engine's telling me it's correct because 1 and 4 are at the top of their hole on the whack-a-mole game. But we're 180 degrees out when we have the ignition rotor pointing at number 1. Timing is not right. So, I'm going to say, I believe the chain jumped, because if the firing order was number 4 first, then what would the firing order be? It wouldn't be 1342. It wouldn't be able to be 1432. It would have to be 4 something. Right? Am I right? Am I right? Am I right? All right, so let's rotate this to bring the dots together to give us top dead center. So let's bring it around. Watch it now. We got our point and we got our valley. I'm going to say that looks pretty darn close. Piston's right at the top. Number 4 is right at the top. But the rotor is pointing at number 4. So that tells me, it verifies to me that the cam gear jumped 180 degrees. So we have to do some homework here and not ignore that. We need to go to the manual, double check the timing marks, double check that number 4 cylinder is not the one that fires off first. It's number 1 cylinder that fires first. We need to verify that before we pull all the timing gears off. So that's going to be my homework. And I just wanted to show you the new kit to go in there. No, this company doesn't sponsor me or anything, so don't go down that road. But everything's in this box. It's all brand new. You get a chain guide. That goes in the timing cover. You get a new chain. You get new sprockets. And even if you look at the sprockets, you will see there's the dot. Right there, there's the dot. Right there, see it? Dot. I don't know what the C means other than Cloys. That's what that means, Cloys. Good company. Here's the timing gear. Which way is that facing now? We want to have a look. Where's the dot? Well, this side isn't facing out, so it's got to go that way. There's the groovy. Lots of groovies. So timing mark is somewhere on here. Look for a dimple. Anyways, it'll be here somewhere. There it is. Right there. That's why I mark it with a white welder's marker. That won't rub off so that you can see that. And then I mark the tooth. Make sure that you're right. Mark the tooth. All right. Okay, let's take a quick look at the timing, the tensioner, and you're going to see what I see. Do you see what I see? Isn't that a song? Is that a Christmas song? Do you see what I see? Or you hear what I see? Good for you. You are special. You hear what I see. Yeah, and my mom used to say, she'd be in another room in the house, I know what you're doing in there. How's that possible? We never figured that out. We were kids. We were kids. All right. I didn't want to open this bag until you were here with me, so you can see I'm not setting anything up. I'm going to take it out before you so we can have a look at it together. Together. I should have just used the scissors. Somebody's saying that. Why didn't you just use the scissors? You could have cut your hand off up at your shoulder. Do you know my mom? She used to say, don't run with that stick. You'll fall and poke your eye out. And I'd be thinking, my eye out. Wait a minute. Stick, run, fall, poke your eye out. I go, no, you're going to poke your eye in. You got to go through here to poke your eye out. And my mom said, go to your room. It's probably a good idea. Okay, here we go. Enough fun. If you can't have fun, stay in the closet. All right, this is going to go in there, something like that, I think, deep down in there. Goes right in there. The ear is right there. So that must mean there's 2 bolts up in there that'll be just so wonderful to get when the oil pan is off. Imagine doing this without the oil pan off. How are you going to get to those bolts? In there. Under there. Good luck. You're pulling the pan. So to do this job in the Jeep is going to be miserable. So this is why you do everything you need to do to the engine to prepare it to go into the vehicle. Now look where that spring is. Look where that plunger is. Do you see what I see? That means when that new chain and gear goes on, it's going to be laying on here, and it's going to be tight against here, and that's zero wear on the chain right here. The plunger is all the way that way, The chain is taut. Here the plunger is all the way down here. It can't go no more because it's bottomed out. So I'm going to, in my mind, what I'm thinking right now until I go to the manual, this engine, there's no way it ran worth beans because it's firing off number 4 and the cam is 180 degrees out. According to that, we're 180 degrees out. I believe it skipped, and that may have been the reason they took it off the road, the donor, because it wasn't running worth beans. Well, that would be the reason why. Now, here's the thing. Something else you got to look at, which is another clue. See, these are some of the issues you're going to run into when you buy a used engine with no history. A lot of guys don't like to do it. I don't mind doing it as long as I know I got something good to start with. The cylinder head was in really good shape. The guys just at the machine shop they didn't have to do valve guides. They just did valve seals. They touched up the valves themselves and cleaned it up, and it's ready to go. So if I push this back and we look at where that chain has been rubbing, look at this. When I lift that up, you see the grooves in there? Right in here. Right where my screwdriver is. The chain has worn grooves into this dampener here. So it's been rubbing for quite a while. I'm almost questioning the 124,000 kilometers on this motor. That's what the guy told me that I got it from. I trusted the guy. But take a look at this plunger. What does that look like? There's no groovies in that baby. It's solid. And that's what it should look like. So that, thus and so, the reason, did you like that? Thus and so, wasn't that good? Yeah. Who talks like that? So thus and so, the plunger's all the way down. It cannot adjust any more slack, but we still have pretty good slack over here. Again, I'm going to say, till I hit the books tomorrow and have a look, I believe the camshaft jumped 180, and it's pointing at number 4 over here instead of number 1 right here where we put our white dots. Number 1 cylinder's right here. And it's also marked on the plug wires. They're marked which cylinder it is. So these are a little bit of homework for me to check that out before I pull it apart. And once I've determined what has happened here, then we will replace the timing gear, both timing gears, chain and tensioner, and put a new dampener in the cover, and I've already installed a new seal. That's all done, but we're going to need to pull the pan next and have a look in the bottom end and make sure that everything is it should be, because as I said, this is where the water pump goes. We got a brand new water pump to go in there. I've got some frost plugs to change, which are down the side here. There's 3 on the side, 1 on the back, and the cylinder head has some plugs in as well. And you'll see that segment. I've got it all prepped to put new plugs in there, and you'll get to see how I do that and why we do that. So the ports are right here. These are water jackets, and these are frost plugs. They'll blow out if the engine froze, and they weren't blown out, but you know what? Do everything you can to this motor, a used motor, a pre-owned motor, before you put it in, because once it's in there, it's going to be a bear of a deal to do the job. So we're going to pull the oil pan next, make sure everything's in the bottom. We're going to double check our timing, find out what's going on there. Once we've done the timing gear and tensioner and dampener and closed it up at the front, I'll let you have a look at that before I close it up, and you'll see what I mean, because it should all come together. So did you like that? It was a kung fu move, actually. It's called Fung Ku. Yeah. We practice with marshmallows. Anyways, till next time, always double check. Don't take the word from someone else. That's how you get yourself into trouble. I've got my homework there. I've got my homework here. I need to know what's going on here. And then when I get those answers, we'll come back and I'll show you the second half of getting this engine ready properly to put it into our donor here and get that thing back out on the road this summer so that you can come and see it. We'll bring it out so you can see it. And till then, like, share, follow, subscribe to our Niall Jenkins YouTube channel. That's where you'll find this video and many others. Be sure to ring the notification bell because that means you'll be notified when our next video is coming out. And be sure to put a comment. Remember I asked you, wait till you see that video where we don't know what that is that's in that video, but we think that it was Skippy messing with us. So you'll want to put a comment down in the comment section and let us know what you think that thing was, because we're not sure, but there was some monkey business going on. So till next time, you can always visit us at carconnectionbusinessnetwork.com. That's ccbusnet.com. Keep it under 100 and put that coffee on, because we're coming to your house.